This is TWiT.
This is a story I recently reported just about how MasterClass hit it big during the pandemic, like most content companies did, had a surge in users interested in watching MasterClass and signing up when they were locked in their homes, raised a buttload of money because of it, and then spent a considerable amount of it very quickly on somewhat frivolous things, and have had to do kind of a crazy amount of layoffs and budget cuts to try and make its business work.
This graphic at the front is Bob Iger in his office. Actually, it looks like an AI of Bob Iger in his office.
Yeah, it's definitely Bob Iger's head pasted on some.
It looks like that body. Google head shift thing.
But you point out, and this was the thing I loved about MasterClass. They were a sponsor for a long time. Is their production values were incredible. I didn't realize how incredible.
Beautiful.
You say they spent $850,000 shooting the Bob Iger MasterClass.
And $100,000 of that came from, they originally were like, we want to shoot in Bob's office. And it didn't really work, it was a small thing logistically. They couldn't get them. And so we're going to spend $100,000 recreating Bob Iger's office 1-to-1 in a Disney conference room on a different lot.
My God.
That's the thing is that surprised me so much about this is a lot of the reporting I've been doing over the last year, seen a lot of examples of tech companies blowing money on silly things, but I hadn't really ever considered the Hollywood aspect of it, which is kind of like that, but notched up a degree. I think the average MasterClass for a long period of time had a budget of $1 million for production. That's not
it looked like it.
Talent.
It looked like it, though. When you looked at those
talent was totally different. They were probably paying talent anywhere from a couple $100,000 to a couple million, depending on the name of the celebrity.
Freaking Sam Jackson was one of their top.
Yeah, that was a great
They
MasterClass.
on a single day of shooting, they filmed this barbecue pitmaster Aaron Franklin outside in the backyard.
Watched that one over and over again.
They had 70 people on set to film him.
It's like a Hollywood movie.
Jesus.
Wow.
Yeah,
so
it did of 70.
So it didn't work. They raised hundreds of millions of dollars.
Oh, it was hot as hell. The other thing, Paris, is that it motivated. It was the hot thing around schools. So we had to do our own master classes. We had to find people. We got a grant and did 5 masterclass things around journalism.
That's so interesting.
I enjoyed my subscription. I paid for it for a couple years.
Me too.
And I
watched a lot of
now, but it was a lot of good information in there, and it was freaking beautiful.
But if you think about it, Ant, how much did we pay? It was a couple $100 or something.
Yeah, it was
how are they going to make that $1 million production fee costs back?
Yeah, that hurt.
So what happened to them?
So that's the thing is they had since basically their pandemic boom, people started going outside and their subscription numbers no longer were just going up and to the right. Growth kind of plateaued. People weren't looking to spend that much money on the content. So they've had to do kind of massive budget cuts in terms of their production value. They've had 4 or 5 different rounds of layoffs of their staff, cut 300 people.
They had 300 people?
No, they had 600 people.
This is an amazing story, by the way. One of the things they did during COVID was they all moved to Iceland.
Yeah, they were we've got to, keep production going. So they're we're going to do production in Iceland where, stuff is somewhat under wraps. But they flew a whole MasterClass crew of production people out via private jet to Iceland, moved them and their families there for 6 months, then flew all the instructors via private jet there, put them up in a fancy place to stay with their families during quarantine. Just kind of this whole big spenders. And it could work except for the fact that it's an annual subscription thing. People are paying $120 a year for this.
Yeah.
It's not really scalable. So now what they're trying to do is kind of lower budget content, much less glitz and glamour, celebrity master classes. Instead, they're doing kind of almost a Quibi type thing where they're talking about quick bites of content where they'll have that was my thought exactly.
They'll be on TikTok before you know it.
They're they'll do a 15-minute episode on how to do the best coffee, or a 19-minute episode in which the 16-year-old pickleball champion from a couple of years teaches you how to play pickleball.
I mean, you can cut costs and make things more expensive, but they shouldn't cheapen this product. Please don't MasterClass.
But they can.
I think it's also they're trying to figure out what people want, because there's not that many people that want to sit down and watch a 3 to 8 hour in-depth thing from like Bob Iger or something.
True.
And actually consume all of that content. So they're trying to find a way to balance it.
Sorry, it's also kind of what you were talking about before with the Isaacson and Lewis problem. How many world-class geniuses who run the world do you really want to hear from?
And it's also like how many of those people who are good at something and have name recognition are good at teaching it.
Yes.
'Cause those are two
true.
very different skills.
This is true.
I have to say, though, and I know, Aunt, you and I both watched a lot of these. It was fantastic. I mean, I always wondered how they did it. And notice, by the way, one of the reasons TWiT is so cheap and cheesy is because I learned from watching Tech TV go down the tubes because it was so expensive. And I said, can we do this for less? And even in 2005, we were doing this for a tenth of what Tech TV was doing. And Tech TV wasn't financially viable, but I knew if we could do it that inexpensively, we could be. I'm not to besmirch MasterClass. I loved their ethos and their style.
You still subscribe?
I think that's the thing is they attracted top tier talent as far as production went, because they were like, wow, I'll finally get the time, energy, and money to create something beautiful that is also kind of educational. But that's a difficult business to make profitable, especially on investors' timeline.
Why don't you still subscribe, Leo?
Is it fair to say they've pivoted, Paris, or what
they've pivoted
what does the
bit.
future hold for them?
I mean, the future holds more classes like, I was saying, like these little series
Quickies,
where
less
instead of it being a 3 to 8 hour class from Natalie Portman, they're going to be like a 15-minute episode
from
on
Leo Laporte,
how to make a good pizza.
Yeah. He's not as good as Natalie, but sounds the same. Great article.
Time to do a masterclass.
Great article. If you have not, if you're not a subscriber yet, this by itself would make it worthwhile. The information.
Unbelievable.
MasterClass takes a crash course in frugality. See, when I read the headline, I thought, there's a MasterClass on frugality. I need to learn that. But no. Quite the opposite.
They need to listen to one of those.
What I love about it too, Paris, is that it's not with the information, it's not the obvious boundaries of a tech story.
No, it's really well done.
Right.
They obviously
it's online,
give you the
and that's
time
sufficient
to do it right and to write it. I'm very grateful for Jessica and the information and publications like the New Yorker, where great writers are allowed to take their time and write long. Stephen Levy always calls it slow journalism. To do good journalism.
Love Stephen.
Yeah, and that's how it should be. And thank God it's still there, because there's so much terrible. It's kind of like the MasterClass of journalism. I just
there is that.
Very good stuff. Thank you.
It's midweek, and you really want to know even more about the world of technology. So you should check out Tech News Weekly, the show where we talk to and about the people making and breaking the tech news.
It's the biggest news. We talk with the people writing the stories that you're probably reading. We also talk between ourselves about the stories that are getting us even more excited about tech news this week.
So if you're excited, well, then join us. Head to twit.tv/TNW to subscribe.